Can you believe that the Houston Texans, one of the youngest franchises in the NFL, have already amassed a rich and complex history? From their humble beginnings as an expansion team in the early 2000s to an emerging playoff team each and every year in the 2020s, the Texans' journey through the NFL has been full of highs, lows, and moments of unexpected glory. Here's a deep dive into the history from their inception to their most recent triumphs. The story of the Houston Texans begins not with glorious touchdown passes or memorable wins, but rather setbacks. In the late 1990s, Houston's previous NFL team, the Houston Oilers, moved to Nashville and became the Tennessee Titans. While Houston was left without an NFL team, a determined group of local investors, led by entrepreneur Bob McNair, decided to make a push to bring football back to the city. McNair's initial attempt to secure an NHL team had fallen through, but he was undeterred. Along with partner Steve Patterson and the backing of the Houston Livestock and Rodeo, McNair pushed for a new domed stadium to help lure an NFL team back. After lobbying and negotiations on October 6, 1999, the NFL awarded Houston the 32nd franchise at a cost of $700 million. Thus, the Houston Texans were born. The franchise was officially founded in 1999, and the team would have its first season in 2002. The Texans became the first expansion team in the NFL since the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers in 1995. Their inaugural season was filled with high hopes, but they finished with a record of 4-12, last in the division, the AFC South. Despite a rough start, the Texans' debut game was historic, a 19-10 win over the Dallas Cowboys, making them the first expansion team to win their first game since the 1961 Minnesota Vikings. The early years of the Texans were marked with struggles, a theme that would persist throughout much of the franchise's early history. In their second season in 2003, the team showed a little bit of promise, improving to 5-11, but they were still from a playoff contender. By 2004, they had made even more noticeable progress with a record of 7-9, but still failed to compete at the highest level within the AFC. In 2005, the Texans took a major step backwards when they finished with a dismal 2-14 record, one of the worst in NFL history, and were left with the number one overall pick in 2006. This poor performance led to the firing of head coach Dom Capers, marking an end of an era of struggles for the franchise. Hiring Gary Kubiak in 2006 signified a fresh start for the franchise. Kubiak was a Houston native and former offensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos and brought a wealth of experience to the role. The Texans' improvement was gradual under his leadership. In 2007, the team posted a modest 8-8 record, their first non-losing season in the franchise's history. In 2008, they finished again 8-8. Despite a lack of a playoff berth, the team showed signs of promise and force in the AFC. By 2009, the season was a turning point for the Texans. With a 9-7 record, the team came within a game of making the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, and the city felt hopeful for this young team. In 2011, after a successful offseason, the team saw a draft that was filled with standout players, including J.J. Watt, which helped bring the team to the future. They would win their first AFC South title with a 10-6 record, marking the beginning of a period of consistent and successful franchise seasons. The team earned its first ever playoff appearance, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals 31-10 in the wild card round. The joy, however, was short-lived as the Texans would go on to lose to the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. In 2012, the Texans appeared poised for another deep playoff run. They started the season with a blistering 5-0 record and finished 12-4, clinching their second consecutive AFC title. Things looked great in Houston. However, despite the team's dominance in the regular season, they faltered once again in the playoffs, losing in the divisional round to the New England Patriots. The following years proved to be a roller coaster for the Texans. In 2013, despite the addition of star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins through the draft, the team would collapse after a promising 2-0 start. The Texans finished with a 2-14 record, tying their previous worst record in franchise history. Head coach Gary Kubiak would be fired mid-season after they would lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This would start a new era in Houston, known as the Bill O'Brien era. In 2014, former Penn State head coach Bill O'Brien took over as the team's third head coach. O'Brien, known for his disciplined approach and offensive expertise, immediately faced challenges, including a lengthy losing streak that stretched into the regular season. However, he quickly turned things around, leading the Texans to a 9-7 record in his first season. Though they missed the playoffs, O'Brien has solidified himself as a leader for the Texans team. In 2015, they had an exciting season, once again finishing 9-7 and winning the AFC South title. The team made it to the playoffs, but were crushed by the Kansas City Chiefs 30-0 in the wild card round. Despite another disappointing playoff exit, the Texans continued to build on their defensive strength. Led by J.J. Watt, they focused on establishing themselves as a leader on the defensive side of the ball. In 2016, the Texans made a splash by signing former Denver Broncos quarterback Brock Osweiler to a 4-year, $72 million contract. Their hope was that he would fix all of their quarterback problems, as the Texans had struggled since the days of David Carr at the quarterback position. This would lead to a quarterback controversy with Tom Savage. Despite Osweiler's struggles, the Texans again won the AFC South with a 9-7 record. However, once again, the team's playoff hopes were short-lived. By 2017, the team brought in the promising young rookie quarterback Deshaun Watson to save them. However, by November, he would tear his ACL midway through the season, and the Texans would finish 4-12, marking their first losing season under Bill O'Brien. After years of inconsistent play and controversy with Deshaun Watson as quarterback, the team was determined to turn its fate and become something new, something more unique, and something more focused. In 2023, they would finish the season 3-13-1, leading to the firing of Lovie Smith. This brought in a new concept and idea. In 2023 of January, Texans would hire DeMeco Ryans, the former Texans superstar linebacker. He was highly regarded as an unbelievable player, but more importantly, he understood how the offense and defense worked. He understood how to scout players, and he injected a sense of discipline and enthusiasm into the Texans that had not been seen in a decade. The Texans made their big splash in the 2023 NFL Draft by selecting Ohio State's C.J. Stroud with the second overall pick, and they would then trade up to pick Alabama's superstar defensive player, Will Anderson. Under Ryan's leadership, the Texans have shown rapid improvement, culminating in a 10-7 season and winning the AFC South Division title in C.J. Stroud's first season at quarterback. In 2024, Ryans would once again lead them to another successful season with another 10-7 record, with the incredible C.J. Stroud leading the way. Though Stroud had a little bit of a sophomore slump this year, the team was also filled with injuries. They were able to still come out with a winning record and win their division, and once again hit the playoffs. It's been a long story and a long journey for the Houston Texans. They've had their struggles, they've had multiple different quarterbacks, and they've had some controversy. For a young franchise, you wouldn't expect it. But once again, the Houston Texans are trying to search for a Super Bowl. With their young quarterback, it looks like they might get one in the next few years, but who's truly to say? Let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see the Houston Texans win a Super Bowl. Thank you so much for watching. Believable Truths.